Hi, welcome to the channel Built by Ben. We're on episode 7 of the Dream Decking series. We're going to be cladding that back wall with larch. I'm going to be showing you the process of how I cut the larch, how I treated the larch, and also how we fixed it to the back wall. So if you're new to the channel, then thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy my videos, and if you've watched a lot of these videos before, then I hope you're still enjoying them. Give me some feedback in the comments section. Like the video for me, it makes a massive difference. If you're not subscribed, then please subscribe, because that makes a huge difference too. And more importantly than anything, tell a mate about it. Cheers. Okay, so welcome along to another episode. Thanks for joining us again. So the first thing we're going to do on this larch cladding, set up a little area where we can put the stain on them, or the treatment. Don't want to wreck that new decking with loads of drips of, although it is clear, you'll see it in the sunlight and it will discolour over time, so protect all of that, or paint them somewhere else if you've got that option. You can see me set up the Tough Built 750s here. It's a great little set of workhorses. I can't recommend them enough. I don't get paid by Tough Built or anything, but these literally are the best ones that I've ever used. And I've set up this little 4x2 frame that usually sits on my roof rack. I have got a Vivaro, so they do fit inside as well, but yeah, it's a great set, really great set. You might have seen in some of my other videos as well, cut MDF on them quite a lot. And if you use it as a sacrificial bench, so you just set your blade sort of 2mm below your MDF, it gives such a clean cut. Right, so we're just getting the larch out in long lengths, and the idea of this was just to cut sort of, I think I did 4 at a time or 6 at a time here, because there were so many battens to cut. And what I did was I just measured from the floor to the top of the wall. I reduced that by about 5mm so that I could get a packer underneath it. You never really want these sitting down on the deck too tight, definitely not touching the deck. What I always try and remember is that you've got leaves and things that will blow into this sort of small gap at the bottom. If you make it too big, then the leaves get in and behind, makes it impossible to clear out. If you make it too small, then the water doesn't actually drip off the cladding, it just gets trapped between the cladding and the decking. And if it obviously gets stuck there, it's just going to rot the bottom of it out, because it will work its way into the end grain eventually. The secret of anything to do with water is just to get the water away from the material as quick as possible, and then the water hasn't got a chance to actually get into the material and rot it. But you can see me here just cutting them all and then just laying them out on that bench there. And I think I actually got 2 lengths out of this larch. It's always good to plan these things, try and plan it as much as you can. I think I got 2 lengths out of the larch, and then with the offcuts you can just see sort of on the right hand side there, just peeking up on the right hand side of the saw, you'll see later in the video, we did like a picture frame larch cladding piece, which was a bit of a feature. We were trying to make use of the old wall. As you can see on the left hand side of the screen there, the old wall was not too pretty. There's a course of solid concrete blocks laid flat on the very left hand side, and the brickwork just was a little bit untidy, had splashes of cement everywhere, so we decided to cover that entirely. But that bit that's now become visible on the right hand side of the saw, really nice brickwork. There was nothing, you know, it's very uniform. There wasn't a lot of cement splashed about, so we decided to make a little bit of a feature of it. We're going to leave that exposed. So them small offcuts you can see leaning against my hoover at the bottom of the screen there are going to go right across the top there, and then we're going to mount some lights on them, and that's where the customer's going to have their barbecue. So it's going to frame the barbecue in a way. Going to have some nice greenery, maybe a couple of trees in front of it. So all we're doing is we're marking these all out and cut them. There are faster ways to do this. You can set a stop up and you can ram through them as quick as you like. I like to just take my time with things like this because it's quite expensive material. If you're not thinking about it properly, it's quite easy to make a mistake, and because I'm cutting them all the same, you make that mistake once and you'll make it 30 times. So just really take your time, and also don't launch that blade through the wood because you'll get so much burst out, you'll have to sit there, sand every piece. If you go through nice and slowly, you're only getting tiny little bits of burst out. You just need a quick little flash over with a bit of sandpaper, if any. I found on here actually, because it was a newish blade, that we were getting no burst out at all. So I could literally just get these straight on the bench, put a bit of treatment on them and get them pinned to the wall. And if there was any that had a tiny little bit of burst out on them at all, I would either put that at the back at the top because I know I'm covering it, or we'd just sand it off if it was too bad. But what we're doing on here, and I'm gutted because I think I've lost the footage, I had a little look through, but I put a black capping, a black metal capping on the top of this wall, just to finish it off nicely really, because in my eyes it's a bit of a gap in the market what you can put on the top of a wall. I'm never really happy with any cappings that you can get apart from metal ones. I think if you put any type of stone on the top, or any type of cement feature or anything like that, I think it just goes rubbish after a long time. It starts going all green. You get water that drops into the joints and then just freezes over, bursts them apart. I just never really loved it. But anyway, you can see here, just get the rest of this cut and then we'll have a look how we treated it. So we use this Osmo UV protection oil, really good stuff actually. The only issue I had with it is that you struggled quite a lot to see where you'd already been. If you're like me, painting's not quite your thing. I did struggle through this bit. Didn't have anyone available to help me, so I just had to crack on with it. You do get that in the building trade every now and then. Got the music up loud, it's a nice day. We just got them all painted. And all I did there was just do two sides and one of the larger faces, because this is a 2x1 batten. So I basically just did the back and the two sides. Because when you pin these things, what you don't want is the front face to be wet. I didn't have enough time to let these dry fully because they take absolutely ages. I actually left them overnight thinking that would be enough, and they were still tacky in the morning. But when you pin these things, the force of the pin hitting the face of the wood there actually almost like splashes whatever coating you got on it. So I decided to leave the front bare, get them all fitted, and then go around afterwards and paint them all. I can just see that I started on the left and the right of the pergola support post there. Didn't see any point in going behind it, just because no one would ever see it behind there. You could argue that I could have done the cladding first, and I suppose that's a valid point, but I didn't know where that decking would come exactly until I built all of the decking. So all I'm doing there is working off of that first one that I fitted behind the post, and we're just using a white spacer. I think I used in between the gap there. You can work with any gap that you want really. One of the main reasons for painting that back wall black was so that that gap didn't show up too much. I wanted to see a gap because I think it looks really nice. I didn't want a sort of shiplap finish. So the shadow gap is crucial for me. It looks really smart. But if you make that too big on a really sunny day, you can actually sort of start to see the wall behind it, which I didn't want. So needed to be tight enough to keep it all neat and tidy so that you can just see wood, but big enough to make the actual shadow gap effect. So the white spacer was the one for me. I did try it with a blue to start with, but it just looked a bit too big. I was just checking here that that blind actually cleared the larch, and it did. Thank God. It was sort of measured out like that, but when you do nice little tight measurements like that, it is a little bit scary. So I got a little bit further with that and then decided to tackle this little picture frame type bit. Now what I didn't want to do is see the ends of those horizontal battens that you can see down the right hand side of the wall. So here we're just making a little return. I decided to get two bits together, just drill all the way through. And if you can understand what I mean there, just so that when you're at an angle, you'll never see the ends of that batten that's strapped to the wall there. All you'll just see is a nice little neat line of larch with a tiny little gap behind it. So we're just gluing it up with a bit of PVA. Is the exterior grade PVA, the D4. Stays flexible as well, so there's no snapping outdoors. And then so that top one just overshoots that, I've cut the one that wraps around shorter so that it only goes up to the bottom of the top horizontal batten, if you can understand what I mean there. I'll show you in a minute. And then we've just got two wires coming out the top there, which you can see. That's because we're going to have them two lights on that vertical bit at the top. And when we're gluing and screwing all of this together, we're just trying to get it as tight as possible. What I was trying to avoid with a lot of this, some of you might disagree, but what I was trying to avoid is sanding anything. I've always found that when you sand bits of larch and then treat them, they come up a different colour to the ones that you don't sand. That's obviously because you're compacting the face of the wood. But what I wanted this one to do is just look completely sort of natural, sort of as the larch is. I didn't want to sand it down, I didn't want a sort of gloss finish on it. Just wanted it to look quite natural. And you know, once this stain goes on it, this UV protector, I just wanted it to stay looking how it was cut and fitted. I've done some larch work before. If you do let it silver, i.e. age, I just don't rate it as much. I don't know if when you let things silver, I even think the same with cedar, it just doesn't look as fresh, it doesn't look as nice. Some people prefer that look, but I just don't. So that UV protector is great for that. It keeps it this nice sort of orangey sort of glow. So you can see there, we're just going to tighten up that bottom screw and then offer it up, and you'll see what I mean. As I've built it as a small sort of L-shaped piece, I'll just hook round the corner of them horizontal battens and just tidy it all up. Now until it was finished you could still see the shadows of them, which look like the end of the battens there, but I can assure you that it did a great job once all the back was dark. So just whack a bit of stain on the back of that as well, a bit of the UV protection. You've got to get that stuff everywhere, otherwise the wood will silver up, and even if the back of it silvers, it'll creep around the front. So just make sure you get that on all surfaces. And then we're just going in with the Paslow pins. Now with the Paslow pins, I received some comments on the shorter videos that I made of this project. People were saying, oh, they need to be stainless steel, or they need to be galvanised pins, but because I'm putting this UV protection on after I've shot the pins through, my theory is that the UV protection will then seal the hole that the pins went through, so no water's actually going to touch these pins at any point. I did tell the client about this, and I said if they ever foul or if they ever rust and pour out the front, then I will come and sand it all down and retreat it and repin it, but I just don't see the point in paying all that extra money, because there's so much money for these stainless steel pins. I don't know, let me know your thoughts on that one. I've never had anything go wrong by using the normal pins, so I can't see any you know, point on spending the extra money for it, as long as you're getting that treatment in there and sealing the heads. If you're just leaving it to age, then maybe. You could see me just working this out. It took absolutely ages to work this out, to come up with the right gap. What I had to do in the end was shave some of them down width wise, but again, I lost the footage on that little bit, but I'll show you the finished project at the end. I think I took something like 78 hours worth of footage for this project, so it's not that was over 3 different cameras as well, so it's not a surprise that I lost some of it. Can be annoying when you're sifting through to edit, but that is just what happens in the world of YouTube. You spend too much time behind the camera and you don't get the project done, and you run out of money, so you can't worry about it too much. So we moved back onto this long back wall here, worked our way down to that corner, got the other side of this post, and you can see we're just carrying on right up to the corner here. And a lot of this is just copy and paste really, guys. You know, I can't claim that it was the most difficult thing to do in the world, but it's the effect that it leaves at the end which is the important thing. You might also notice I've got my level next to me at all times. I think it's really important on a job like this that about every 3 or 4 that you fix, you just check the level of it, because there could be some little discrepancies in the timber that just bend it over a touch, and then if you follow suit with the next 10 or 12 or 15 without checking, by the time you get to number 15 you could be, you know, 5mm out of the top, and then when that comes to putting this corner piece in, which I just planed down a little, you could be all over the shop. You could be a full batten out by the time you got over this sort of span. So we're just going to jump back to you know, how it ended up. You can see along the top there how we intended it to go. We wrapped it around these corners, which again wasn't too hard. The corner piece was just made the same as those corners that I made earlier. So we just joined 2 together and wrapped it around the battens. Actually worked out really well. Slightly by fluke, but all of the measurements just, you know, wrapped around really nicely around these corners. And then we're just going on with a final coat over the front of these bits of larch now with this UV protection. No one needs to watch too much of that. Again, it was quite a boring job, but the main difficulty, you can actually see it quite well on the camera, but the main difficulty was actually seeing which ones I'd already done, because when you're sitting right in front of it, it didn't look that glossy at all. So I was just moving a little marker that I had on the floor, just a tiny piece of metal, doing 3 at a time and then moving the marker to know which ones I'd already painted. But you can see there's like the larch side of things was all finished. I think you agree it's a nice tidy neat job. When those lights are on that larch at night time, it looks absolutely incredible. I'm still to actually go around and take a video of it at night time, which I will do, and that will go on my Instagram. So if you're not following my Instagram, get over there and give us a follow. And thanks for watching this week, guys. Coming to the end of this episode now, so I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.